Hey guys, Spirit of the Law here. With a couple of new civilizations on the way and their unique techs being announced already, it's got me thinking about how they stack up against some of the best unique techs already in the game. There's 70 of them at the moment, and they're really a mixed bag, with some being highly specific and situational, and others are critical to their civs late game. I've settled here on a handful that may not be the best for expert games, but for average players between 800 and 1200 rating, they're the ones I think are best to keep in mind and try to pick up. I saved a couple of the best for last, but most of these are in no particular order. So here are my top 15-ish best unique techs, or ones I think are underrated, or I just wanted to talk about them. Starting off with one I think is underrated or perhaps more misunderstood is Supremacy. I know you're thinking, uh-oh, this is going to be a video all about meme strategies, isn't it? And obviously it's a meme strategy when used to go all in with Spanish villagers, but that's not what I'm picturing here. It's actually a decent unique tech in more serious games by making you significantly harder to raid. Stats-wise, villagers go from 40 to 80 HP on top of a bit of extra armor, which means Hussars go from needing 4 hits to take out a single villager to 10. Combined with 30% faster construction for Spanish, it makes forward villagers that much more effective, meaning forward military buildings or castles are more likely to go up. It's also relatively cheap at 400 food and 250 gold as well. I see it as a solid unique tech that I think is worth picking up even if you aren't planning to do anything silly with it. Another tech that gets pegged as a meme but I think is actually solid as well is Mayan Obsidian arrows, which lets the Mayan crossbow line do 5 or 6 more damage against buildings. A stack of 40 Mayan arbalesters is no joke, taking out a town center with masonry in 10 volleys, or a castle with masonry in 38 seconds. It also happens to be relatively cheap as well at just 300 food and 300 gold. Unfortunately, it doesn't apply to their unique unit, the Plumed Archer, though that's a unit that probably doesn't need any extra help considering it's already a faster and tankier version of the crossbow to begin with. The Plumed Archer gets a lot of attention, but the regular crossbow line is cheaper, easier to mass up, and for mines is way better against buildings because of this unique tech. El Dorado is a pretty great unique tech as well, giving Mine Eagle Warriors 40 more HP. For whatever reason, mines seem to get all the luck when it comes to unique techs. Continuing with the archer theme, the next unique tech I want to highlight is the Britain's Yeoman, which gives +1 range on archers and skirmishers. On the one hand, it's way more expensive than its blacksmith counterpart, which also gives 1 range in addition to 1 attack. The difference is your skirmishers get a permanent range advantage over everyone except the Aztecs, in addition to having yet another range on your crossbows and longbows. Its high cost means it's not one you need as soon as possible, but considering how important range is to the Britain identity and game plan, I see it as a good one to aim for in Imperial Age. A similar feeling one for me is the Celts Imperial Age unique tech, giving them 40% more HP on siege. Similar to Britons with archers, Celts have a reputation for siege, with faster working siege workshops and faster attack, but this is the tech that really ties it all together. It means Celt onagers can take a direct shot from another onager, their heavy scorpions can survive a direct onager shot, and their rams are going to take 40% more damage from defensive buildings. Suddenly, it allows for great trades with enemy siege, and makes it an important tech for the Celts. Another one I see as a must-grab, but is maybe more controversial, is Yasama for Japanese, letting their towers fire 2 extra arrows. This one's easy to overlook or forget about because you tend not to see mass keeps in expert games, but they can be incredibly effective at making your base unraidable. It's quite cheap at 300 food and 300 wood, and for the same stone cost as 1 defensive castle, you can build 5 Japanese keeps that deal 2.5 times the damage while also covering a much larger part of your economy. I see it as less of a Castleage strategy and more for the extreme late game as a way to get the same entrenchment you get from bombard towers, but without the bombard tower's weakness to rams. Japanese towers do much more damage to rams once you factor in their faster attack rate, making rams not a particularly effective way to deal with them. It's a tech that might not be overpowered in 1v1 Arabia ladder games, but I feel the more casual the game, the better this one gets. The next one is the Italians' Castleage unique tech that gives +1 melee in pierce armor to foot archers and condottieri. Italians aren't typically a well-performing civilization on land maps because they're a little slow to get going, but this unique tech gives their ranged units a fighting chance once they have a castle up. A permanent 1 armor advantage on your crossbows, arbalest, and Genoese crossbowmen is solid considering its fairly low cost. It's not quite as great as back in the day when it applied to skirmishers as well, but I like it as a cheap value tech to pick up on the way to Imperial Age. Another good set of techs for value is the auto-healing ones, for Berbers to heal camels and Vikings to heal berserks. These are an automatic pickup if you're making a lot of those units, especially for Vikings who get a bigger healing boost out of their tech. Getting back free health throughout a fight and in between fights has some pretty obvious long-term value. Another couple of unique techs I like and am putting together are the Cuman's Steppe Husbandry, letting a few different units, including Hussars, be trained at double the rate, and the Franks Chivalry tech, letting their stables work 40% faster. You might argue it's easy to just build more stables, so having faster working stables isn't important, and I'd agree that having a ton of production buildings is a great tip in general, but you can make more buildings and pick up these techs for even better production. It's not that you pick one or the other. There's a big advantage when you're pop-capped to replacing units quickly. In the case of Franks, it also speeds up Cavalier and Paladin research by more than a minute, making it a good one to grab on the way to Imperial Age. Another couple of great cavalry unique techs that'll pair together are Stirrups for Bulgarians, giving them 33% faster attack on their light cavalry and knight line, and Ferimba for Malians, giving them +5 attack on their light cavalry, knights, and camels. Both have a similar effect of giving an instant power spike to cavalry that without these techs would otherwise be fairly average. Similar to Britain Archers in Celt Siege, it's a case where you need a bit of extra research with Bulgarians and Malians, and by forgetting or ignoring these techs, you're missing what makes them strong in the early Imperial Age. To switch things up and include an economic-focused tech, probably the best from that perspective is Indian Sultans, increasing all of their gold income by 10%. It doesn't even cost a gold investment to pick up at 400 food and 400 wood. Despite being more expensive than gold shaft mining for what appears to be a smaller effect, remember it's giving you a good chunk of the Aztec relic and Spanish trade bonuses wrapped up together, all in a single tech. The next three I'm grouping as a set for having the same premise of turning gold units into trash units. This includes the Persians' unique tech for crossbows, Malay for their two-handed swordsmen, and Magyars for their elite Magyar Hussar. All three remove the gold cost for those units. Anytime you can remove a unit's cost, that's obviously helpful, and all of the affected units do become permanently cheaper from a total resource perspective. But removing gold can be especially game-changing in the long run. Yes, you can trade for infinite gold, but trade carts are expensive to make, and an obvious target for raiding since they can't be garrisoned like villagers. In fact, a common win condition in team games is holding your side of the map and raiding the opponent's trade line. Having a fourth trash unit option available to these three civilizations, even just as a filler unit or complement to other gold units, is something you have to be aware of, either when playing these civilizations or, just as importantly, when you're playing against them. And finally, in a class of their own is the Goths, Profusion, and Anarchy unique techs. One lets you train their unique unit at the barracks, and the other doubles the production speed of those barracks. The fact you also have a discount on infantry makes for incredible synergy. When I think of civilizations defined by their unique techs, Goths are head and shoulders above any other civ. Now, something kind of interesting that came to my mind while thinking about this topic is how all of the unique techs I've listed give permanent, ongoing effects. Things like stat improvements, training times, cost reductions, it's all permanent. Looking at the upcoming unique techs for Burgundians and Sicilians, interestingly, they're all one-time boosts for either instant gold or military units. It's not completely unprecedented with Vietnamese paper money and Cuman mercenaries as examples, and obviously it's hard to say without knowing the cost of the unique techs how balanced they'll be. Some like Druzina for Slavs, Logistica for Byzantines, and Torsion engines for Ethiopians are strong on paper but are expensive to pick up in-game, which makes them feel like a big investment. It's all about creating interesting choices and trade-offs, so without knowing the cost, it's difficult to speculate. But that's a list of unique techs that I like and wanted to highlight. There's a lot of them in the game and I probably forgot a few good ones, so let me know if I missed any unique tech gems. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.